What's up, guys? Hello. All right, so let me make sure that I am live. I don't know what this curl is doing. Here we go. Okay. All right, guys. So I know we have the team huddle, but I wanted to quickly do my live. Hey, and so that way I could share a couple things with you that I may not get to talk to you about tonight, just because we have a different topic. So you guys, let's talk about adversity and grit, right? So I am going to first and foremost read from this. They're really good. I read them earlier today and I was like, this is really good. Okay. So, first things first, I'm going to read the prayer. And I want you guys to drop your ahas. You know, if this resonates with you and you're like, oh, I've been here. Oh, I've said this. I've prayed this. I've journaled this. Then just drop an aha moment and see if this is effective for you or if this helps you in your perspective. Okay. So it says, Lord, I know you have a plan and purpose for me, but sometimes I wonder if I'm capable of surviving all the hard times that I'm encountering. I mess up a lot. I don't always have the courage to do what I should, and I often run away when the situation begins to look difficult. When I come up upon large tasks and intimidating obstacles, I wonder if you know what you got me into. The path ahead looks risky and unstable. My life is surrounded with circumstances that overwhelm me, and the hard things are becoming too difficult. Are you sure that I can get through this? I know that you have the power to do what I cannot, but I feel I'm unable to overcome the obstacles in front of me. It's too hard. It's too painful, and I am weak, Lord. You remember that, right? I'm afraid. I'm often tired. I don't exactly have a whole lot of self-confidence. I feel that maybe just this once you made a mistake when you asked this of me. Ooh, right? How can I possibly do anything for you? How can someone like me accomplish your great purposes? How interesting is that, right? It's so often that I remember feeling And I would say that this was prior to starting the business or even in the beginning of my business. I felt so inadequate. And I think the inadequacy that I felt came from a lack of knowledge and understanding. I didn't quite feel as comfortable getting out there, putting myself out there. I felt dumb. And I was like, okay, am I doing something wrong? Because everybody else seems to think this is super norm and they're just super happy and understanding everything they're supposed to do. And I'm over here trying to understand Facebook. I kid you not, that was me 5 years ago. 5.5 years ago, I was like, dude, I just got on Facebook and y'all are have been on Facebook forever and Instagram. And I felt so inadequate. And I remember thinking, what did I get myself into? So I've been in this moment and I feel like I've said probably the same exact prayer at one time or journaled. So it's very interesting, but here's the prayer that goes with it, okay? So it says adversity. I am a mighty God. Nothing is too difficult for me. I have chosen to use weak ones like you to accomplish my purposes. Your weakness is designed to open you up to my power. Therefore, do not fear your limitations or measure the day's demands against your strength. Ooh. What I require of you is to stay connected to me, living in trusting dependence on my limitless resources. When you face unexpected demands, there is no need to panic. Remember that I am with you. Talk to me and listen while I talk you through each challenging situation. I am not a careless God. When I allow difficulties to come into your life, I equip you fully to handle them. Relax in my presence, trusting in my strength. You know what's so interesting about this, you guys, is first and foremost, the word trust kind of keeps popping back up, right? And I think that in the most difficult times of my life is when my character has grown the most. Can you agree with that? If you think back to the most difficult part of your life, whether it was, a sick family member, whether it was a failing marriage, whether it was a relationship that ended, whether it was, the death of someone that was really close to you, whether it was, you failed at something, whether it was you messed something up, you feel really, really bad, right? I do firmly believe that our character grows so much in our hardest situations. And as we're kind of going through these hard situations, we don't realize that our character is growing at the same time. We just feel helpless, hopeless and helpless. Like, I cannot control this, right? I can't control the outcome, and the having an inability to control what's about to happen can be extremely scary, right? And so I think that, when we're faced with adversity, we tend to panic. We're humans. And that emotional sort of uprise that kind of comes within you, it's kind of like, oh shoot, like, I don't know what you got yourself into, but like, you need to like exit stage left real fast because things are going to get kind of crazy, right? And so what he's saying in here is like, do not fear your limitations or measure the day's demands against your strength. I think so often, you guys, we can get hung up on the day to day. And although we want to win the day, what we get hung up on is, let's say you have a day that just rocks your world. You've got this going on over here, you're literally being pulled in 1,000 different directions, have no clue how it's supposed to all get done, but it has to all get done. And, excuse my language, but shit's hitting the fan, right? And you're like a chicken with your head cut off. Like, I don't even remember eating. I don't remember, feeding this kid. Did I take the dog out? Did I do the laundry? Did I leave the stove on? Where's my keys? Are they in the fridge? Like, I kid you not, right? We have those days. And then I get a phone call, and then it's something upsetting, and then I got to deal with this, and oh my gosh, so-and-so lost this, oh my gosh, so-and-so's in the hospital, like so-and-so lost their job. And all of a sudden, there's this moment where you're just like, I give up. Like, I legit give up, okay? Because this is too much. And obviously, I'm not capable and equipped with everything I need to do all of this. And what he's saying is, stop trying to measure the strengths I've given you against your daily demands, period. Because the strengths I've given you may not necessarily be needed in the demands that you go through every single day, right? But it also should not, it shouldn't force you to reflect in a negative way upon yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't like go in the day and be like, well, I should have just went back to sleep. Like, that was not cool. Like, that was for the birds. This day could have totally passed by and I would not have been upset, right? And so I really like that he said that, because I think so often we get so in our heads about it, guys, when we have a day that's really, really bad emotionally, it's gut wrenching. Something is happening. We tend to literally question the strengths that God has given us. And we're like, I don't know why you put me in this situation, in this marriage, in this relationship, with all these responsibilities, with this. And we start to question God's intention for us. We start to question that maybe, in fact, I am not as strong as I thought I was, right? I'm not as resourceful as I thought I was, But he's saying, don't do that. Don't measure the strengths against the day-to-day demands, especially the crazy days, because I think you're at a lose-lose, right? I don't think it's fair. So let's go on to the next one. So all right, so this next one is the prayer, okay? And it says, Lord, I know that you're always with me, and I thank you for your enduring presence. I never struggled to see your work in my life. You remain beside me, even in the most difficult of circumstances. I do confess, however, that at times I do not understand your plan for me. I feel lost in the darkness of doubt, with seemingly no escape from the world of pain and anguish. In these times, I know you're still with me, but when I hear your voice, it sounds so distant. My life becomes a dark room where I can see nothing but the pain that surrounds me. Gradually, finding comfort becomes less about knowing whether you are with me and more about how I find you in this dark room of mine. Lord, when I come across rough times like these, you awaken me to the reality of your grace and love. I discover that the room was only dark because I imagined my problems to be so big that they towered up to the ceiling and covered your light. That's like powerful, right? Oh my gosh, I got to read that again. The most important thing for me to remember is that you are bigger than all of my problems, and your light is ever present in my life. When I let your light back in, I find you once again. So this is so interesting, right? Because I think we can do a really daggone good job at worrying about the things that we cannot control, which innately shifts us further away from him, right? When you allow that to take up space in your mind, you're moving further away from the light, right? And things do seem dark. It seems like there's no, like, I legit, even if I wanted to try to imagine a light at the end of the tunnel, I can't see it. Everything is dark. Everything's closing in on me. I'm suffocating. I'm drowning. I can barely keep my head up above water. I don't know how I'm going to get through tomorrow, let alone 2 weeks from now, right? I look at my calendar and I'm like, how? How, right? So, but what I love, okay, let's read this again. Lord, when I come across rough times like these, you awaken me to the reality of your grace and love. I discover that the room was only dark because I imagined my problems to be so big that they towered up to the ceiling and covered your light. The most important thing for me to remember is that you are bigger than all of my problems, and your light is ever present in my life. When I let your light back in, I find you once again. Here's the thing. What is so interesting too about this that I just thought of, you guys, is if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. Where your mind goes, your energy flows. Ooh, right? Where your mind goes, your energy flows. If my mind is constantly consumed with all the things that do give or bring adversity into my life, then I'm going to be consumed with feeling inadequate, with feeling less than, with feeling like I'm not capable of overcoming because it seems so big. I'm standing here in a dark room and I'm looking up at my problems versus down. Now, I'm not saying there aren't problems that are bigger sometimes that we don't expect, we sometimes can't handle. But I think the reason why problems seem so big or that you can't handle is because you're trying to do it alone. And I think it's not an admirable thing, I think, in this day and age where mental health is such a huge topic, and it is something near and dear to my heart too. It's not admirable anymore to not ask for help. I think that there used to be a time when we thought, and maybe it was a generational mindset where you thought, oh, just tough it out, tough through, you'll be all right, stop crying. Like oftentimes I posted about it in a story, I talked about, how often have you heard people say to boys, stop crying, you're a boy. Aren't you a boy? Little boys don't cry, right? And what I think is so it just irks me about that is that no matter boy, girl, woman, man, doesn't matter. We're humans. And feelings are meant to be felt. And I think it is an extremely healthy thing to feel your feelings, because the longer you avoid feeling your feeling, the longer you will allow yourself to sit in it. And that's not healthy. That is what's going to progress and elevate your mental health into a place where sometimes it's difficult to come out of it, right? It really is. But on the flip side, I think when you're going through the darkness and all you see is a dark room and it's full of your problems, you no longer see the light, which means you no longer have hope. And if you have no hope, you have no faith. And if you have no faith, then you are literally going to be stuck. When you're stuck, you feel paralyzed. You can't move. Like you're in quicksand, and it is only a matter of time before you feel like it's taken you out. You're exhausted mentally, right? Taxing. Has anyone ever felt like that? It's just taxing. And so I think that what he's saying is I need you to clear that out. I need you to allow some light. If you just allow a little light for me to get through, then I can be close to you. And if you allow me to be close to you, then this dark room won't be so dark for you. But I think that we think it's admirable to not ask for help, and we think it's admirable to not show emotions and to not cry and suck it up, it'll be all right. And to be all like, oh, I'm not going to forgive her because he didn't forgive me, and I'm not going to forgive whatever, right? Like we want to be like stubborn about it, But at the end of the day, I think that it is so extremely healthy to feel your feelings, to process them, and to move on, right? Sometimes when we don't process our feelings, we're stuck in this. And then resentment rises, anger rises, frustration rises, and it comes out in different ways of our life. Because why? Why do things pop up in different areas of your life? Almost as if people say history repeats itself. No, history repeats itself because you haven't sat down long enough to deal with why it even happened in the first place, right? No one's saying to try to figure out why this situation happened. I'm saying figure out why you're still feeling the way you're feeling when that moment is gone. Why do you allow yourself to sit and be pissed off, angry, mad, frustrated, overwhelmed, whatever about a situation that's gone? It's done now. Every second that goes by, it is done. So you either learn how to process your feelings. That's where you find the character building. That's what builds adversity. That's what builds grit, right? I don't think that we're innately born understanding how to have adversity and how to have grit. I think it's learned. And I think, like I said, through my hardest moments in my life is when my character has grown the most. And it's actually part of what I'm going to talk about tonight. So sorry if you guys are hearing this now. It is. And being yellow is an amazing gift, because I do feel that you're more in tune with your feelings. The problem that yellows tend to have is that because you're more in tune with your feelings, you allow yourself to sit in it longer. It's one thing to feel your feelings and feel them, honor them, and put them where they're supposed to go. But it's another thing when I allow myself to continue feeling my feelings and then feeling sorry for myself, and then feeling my feelings and then feeling sorry for myself. And then it's like a cycle. It's cyclical, right? It's cyclical. And I think that what's hard for yellows is that you feel that if you close the door, if you forgive, if you let go, if you push this to the side, if you move on, then you're doing that situation, that person, that whatever, a disservice, right? Like, I'm not done with it yet. I'm not done with it yet. Because I'm not done with it yet, I want to sit it right here. And it's literally like, it's like you got a backpack on. No, this was from February 22nd. Let's put that bit back in there. No, girl, that happened in 2018. Put it back in my bag. I gotta go. This is what we do. This is what we do, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so I hope you guys understand that. Like, I kid you not, and not a lot of people know this, but this is a private group. So my wedding, you guys, let me just, oh, Lord Jesus, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but I'm gonna talk about this, because I think it's healthy. It's healthy. So my husband and I, we got married 9 years ago, and prior leading up to the wedding, we had a really big falling out with my husband's grandmother. And you guys, it was to the point where she told us she did not want to come to the wedding, and it completely crushed my husband. However, my husband and I are Geminis, and we were very young. And I think in that time, we were like, well, what do we do? Like, do we put her on the list? Because we had to have a specific list for people that were allowed to come into the reception. And it's not a thing that I am happy about. That I think looking back, I probably would have done a lot of things different with my wedding, but it is what it is. However, I think it built character. Okay. But aside from that, we didn't put her on the list. So the reception came, she comes, and we're like, what's happening? What's going on? Comes as if nothing ever happened, right? I'm in my wedding dress. We're out there on the golf course taking pictures. We pull back up, and his mom's like, y'all need to come inside. It's not so pretty. And I'm like, what? So literally, I had 5 tables of people get up and leave because she made a scene. Literally made a scene. I will never forget it. My husband was in tears. I was pissed off. I was like, what? You know, and of course I'm paying. Like, so there was a lot of emotions. And do you guys know, it took me 6 years, you guys, to call her on the phone and say, you know what? I know that you hurt me that day, but I know that I am hurting you and me more by not forgiving you. And so I want you to know that I forgive you for what happened that day. And it took everything in me to do that, you guys. But it was the most freeing moment that I think I've ever had in my life. And do you know, from that day on, she literally calls me probably every other day. We have the best relationship. And when I think back to my wedding, it still does make me sad. However, I do believe I learned so much. I learned, you know, the whole thing, you know, we learned, we were young. We allowed too many people to have input into our wedding day, our marriage, and all that stuff. And now obviously, you know, 9 years later, you know, I'm looking back and reflecting, and there's a lot of lessons that I've learned. I don't think anything that happened that day was in vain. I think that it happened for a reason. And I think it taught me a lot, right? But I tell you that to say that sometimes I think in the hardest moments that's what builds our character. And I didn't realize it was building my character until 6 years after it happened. But what was I doing? I allowed May 12th of 2012 to stay on my back for 6 years. And I made it so incredibly difficult for my husband whenever he wanted to like have her over, have a conversation, like it was awkward, right? And so I just tell you that to say, I think we unconsciously carry past situations and feelings that happen and think that it's okay to carry it on our back when it's not okay. It's not admirable. It's not something that you should pride yourself on. In fact, you need to forgive and you need to let it go. Because if you don't, the only person it's holding back is you. It's not holding them back. It doesn't matter, right? And here's the thing I want you to remember. If you yourself deserve grace, so do they. So don't for a moment think that anybody else is exempt if you're not, right? And that was a hard lesson for me. I realized, like, someone asked me today, they were like, Tavia, do you deserve grace? Do you deserve God to forgive you for what you've done, or for the people that you haven't forgiven, for the people that you wronged? And I was like, well, yeah. And then they were like, well, why do you think they don't deserve grace? And I was like, okay, right? So that was just a gut check for me, you guys. So okay, so let me just read the prayer and then I'll get off. All right, so this says, seek me with your whole being. I desire to be found by you, and I orchestrate the events of your life with that purpose in mind. When things go well and you are blessed, you can feel me smiling on you. When you encounter rough patches along your life journey, trust me that my light is still shining upon you. My reasons for allowing these adversities may be shrouded in mystery, but my continual presence with you is an absolute promise. Seek me in good times and seek me in hard times. You will find me watching over you all the time. That's from Deuteronomy. You guys, here's the thing. What is, I think, one of the most, what is the word? Comforting things I ever have realized and am starting to realize and am allowing myself to realize is that in my good times and my bad times and my rough times and my emotional times and my freaking meltdowns, all the times, right? I mean, he's with me. He's seeing it all. He's seeing sister girl going nuts and he's seeing me happy, right? And I think that we tend to want to pray and want to give thanks when things are going good. But how many of you honestly and truly pray when things are going wrong, right? Like how many of you are truly allowing yourself to not just pray when you need something, right? To not just, or something happens that's good and you're like, oh, thank you, Jesus, right? But, let something go left, and then you're up there just like, oh, Lord, if you just please do this for me one time, right? So we pray based on what we feel we need, when we really need to pray based on everything. It shouldn't even be a want or a need. It should be no matter what, the good, the bad, the ugly, he's there and he's smiling upon you and he's teaching you something. No matter what, he's never left you. And I think sometimes, again, when you're in a dark room, you feel like he's left you. You feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm alone. I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to go. I can't even see a door. I can't see a window. I'm stuck. Help me, please help me. And I think that, again, I want you guys to know that if any of you guys are going through that and it seems really dark and you don't know how to get out of it, I'm not saying that I for 1 minute will be able to give you the exact answer. But what I will say is that surrounding yourself and staying close to the light is one of the best things you could ever do. When you allow yourself to stay in the darkness, the devil's voice is a lot louder, right? The negative thoughts are a lot louder. We tend to really go to town with our mind when things are going bad. And then it's not just that isolated thing that went bad. It's now 10,000 things on top of it, right? But again, I ask you and I strongly encourage you to take a look at what you're carrying. What incident are you carrying from the past? What haven't you let go? Who haven't you called to apologize to? Who haven't you called to say that I forgive you? Who haven't, like in your head, did you forgive the people that, fired you from a job? Did you forgive the people that wronged you, in this relationship? Did you forgive the people that stole something, right? Like all the things, because we all have the stories, right? Forgive them. Forgive them, forgive yourself, and forgive yourself for allowing it to carry on so long. But when you forgive and you allow yourself that opportunity to forgive and you allow yourself to let it go, then you have to let it go. I think one of the most happiest the proudest moments I think I've had of myself is that I told her and I promised her that day, would have been now, let me think, 3.5 years ago. I told her and I said, from this day forward, I will never speak about this wedding and how upset it made me. I'll never make you feel less than, or we won't have an negatively emotional conversation about it. And you guys, to this day, I have not. And I don't even feel the desire or the uprise in me to still have anger, because I think emotionally it took so much for me to keep that on versus allowing myself to let it go. Like I had to intentionally work at being angry, and it took everything from me, So I just encourage you guys to really reflect on that, because in your hardest times is when you build your adversity. You build your grit. You're not born with it. You may have it born inside, obviously, but you're not born understanding what it looks like for you. You got to go through some stuff. You got to go through some stuff and allow yourself to go through some stuff, because that's what's going to build your grit. That's what's going to build your adversity, right? And don't quit before that happens. A lot of times we get into situations and it's so hard and we don't see a solution at the end. We don't see like an outcome that's positive, so we dip out, right? But what if you stay? I think sometimes it takes faith to leave, but it also sometimes takes faith to stay. So, I just encourage you guys, and I hope this helps. This topic is again, it's a really good one, adversity and grit and overcoming things and allowing yourself to push through. It's not an easy thing. And I think it all looks different for us. And I hope you guys got some aha moments. I appreciate you guys. And I don't even know what the topic is for tomorrow, but I will check on that and I will go live. But I hope you guys are enjoying these. I will upload this video too, and share it. All right, guys. See ya. Bye.